February 2022. Russian forces cross into Ukraine, and one of their first targets isn't a city, it's the internet itself. A cyber attack knocks out satellite modems across the country. Command centers go dark. Within hours, Ukraine's government sends a request to a private company in California. 2 days later, thousands of small dishes start arriving by truck. The country comes back online, not because of a treaty, not because of a government network, but because one man decided to turn a switch on. That man doesn't run a country, he runs a satellite company. And that's exactly the problem this video is about. Here's what makes this even possible. Traditional satellite internet used a handful of huge satellites parked in geostationary orbit, 36,000 kilometers up. That's so far away that even at the speed of light, a signal takes almost half a second for a round trip. Enough delay to make video calls and online games nearly unusable. Starlink does the opposite. Instead of a few giant satellites far away, it uses thousands of small ones, flying in low Earth orbit, around 550 kilometers up, less than the distance from Paris to Marseille. Over 7,000 are in orbit today, with tens of thousands more planned. Being that close cuts latency down to what fiber optic internet delivers, but with no cable in the ground at all. Each satellite talks to the ground through a phased array antenna, and to its neighbors through laser links, passing your data satellite to satellite through space before it ever touches a ground station. The result is a mesh network in orbit that can deliver broadband to a farm in Montana, a ship in the Pacific, or a trench in eastern Ukraine, anywhere on Earth, without asking permission from a phone company or a government to lay a single wire. That's the engineering, and it's genuinely elegant. But elegant engineering built by one company, launched almost entirely on one company's rockets, is also something else: leverage. Because it turns out, the same switch that can turn a country's internet on can turn it off. In 2023, reporting emerged that during a Ukrainian military operation near Crimea, Starlink coverage in the area had been deliberately restricted, a decision made not by the Pentagon or NATO, but reportedly by the company's own founder, worried about escalating the war. Whether that account is complete or not, the fact that it was even plausible is the story. A battlefield outcome partly depending on the judgment call of a private citizen. Governments noticed. Some responded by trying to ban the service outright. Russia, Iran, and North Korea have all restricted or outlawed Starlink terminals, treating uncensorable satellite internet as a threat to state control of information, the same fear that drove the sovereign internet projects we covered before. Others decided the real fix wasn't banning it, it was not depending on it. China is now racing to build its own mega-constellations, Guowang and Qianfan. Thousands of satellites meant to give it an alternative to American-owned orbital infrastructure. The European Union is funding its own network, IRIS-2, explicitly to avoid relying on a single foreign company for critical connectivity. Amazon has its own answer too. Project Kuiper, backed by the world's second richest man, entering the same orbital space. For the first time in the internet's history, the ability to connect, or disconnect, a country doesn't run through an international consortium of governments and telecom companies, the way it does with the undersea cables we covered in video 1. It runs through boardrooms. Starlink didn't just solve a connectivity problem, it created a new kind of power, one that doesn't answer to voters, borders, or the UN. Every country now racing to launch its own constellation isn't just chasing better internet, they're racing to make sure that power belongs to more than one man. If one person can already flip a switch and change the outcome of a war, the next decade in orbit isn't just a tech story, it's a power story. That's what Deep Systems covers: who actually controls the systems the world depends on. Subscribe to see who wins the next race: Starlink, Kuiper, or a state-run constellation nobody's watching yet.